Joining us on the line right now, national security analyst for Fox News, all-around great gal, KT McFarland. How are you, KT?
It's great, thank you.
We got stuff. I don't even know where to begin. We got so many questions we want to ask you, but I want to start by this development. There is a document that has been uncovered regarding Benghazi, and I find this to be just shocking. Many people are saying this is the smoking gun because it was the afternoon before the Sunday appearance on the Sunday talk shows by Susan Rice, and they laid out this memo of the things that she was to accomplish. This comes from a guy named Ben Rhodes. And one of the goals stated in the memo was to underscore that the protests were rooted in an internet video and not a broader failure of policy, unspoken part of this is, by this administration. Many people say, okay, there's the evidence that they weren't interested in telling the truth. They were just interested in getting a talking point out that protected the president during the election effort.
Well, you mean politicians lie, cheat, and steal, and you're surprised?
Well, I know, but really, when you do a Sunday talk show, the goal is, I would think, to tell the truth.
Yeah, they lied to the American people, and they did it to win an election. Now, is that illegal? I mean, it sure is unethical. It sure does just fly in the face of American sense of fair play and what democracy is all about. The question is, what happens next? It's going to be typical. The mainstream media will kind of ignore it. They'll kind of move on. Nothing here. Don't bother. I think the only person I care about who takes this seriously is the Speaker of the House. And is he going to say, okay, now we've got the evidence. Now we are going to form a special select committee with subpoena powers, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to see how deep this cover-up goes, how deep the lying goes. And until that happens, I think this whole issue just sort of dies on the vine, which is what the president hopes. It just sort of goes away, it fades, it dies from lack of oxygen. It's now time, finally, to have a special select committee to see how far the lying, the obfuscation, the cover-ups go, with real subpoena power, not just let's request from the government under the Freedom of Information Act and hope they maybe send us eventually some unredacted memos. No, get subpoena power to find out what really happened, get people to come in and testify, not just under oath, but with the idea that they may face prosecution if they lie or if they don't tell what they know.
But that takes Speaker Boehner authorizing that and giving the go-ahead. We asked Speaker Boehner if he's willing to do that and why he won't, and his response was,
"Oh, don't make me do this. Oh, this is too hard."
So I don't think that's going anywhere.
Well, man up,
KT McFarland, I got to ask you about Secretary of State John Kerry. I still am amazed that this hasn't gotten wider coverage. Speaking to the Trilateral Commission in a closed-door session, asked about the breakdown of the peace process in Israel, between the Israelis and the Palestinians, he said that Israel runs the risk of becoming an apartheid state. He is America's chief diplomat. There have been calls for his resignation. He would not apologize, by the way. He merely clarified his remarks. He almost made it sound like it's our fault for misunderstanding what he said. Does this disqualify him as Secretary of State in your mind?
Yeah, the president gets whatever Secretary of State he wants as long as he's confirmed by the Senate. So, I think the calls for his resignation, I mean, how effective is he? If this is his big signature thing, which was a dumb thing to claim as a big signature thing, was Israeli-Palestinian peace, he's failed dramatically and substantively, and what's he going to do about it? Oh, he's going to blame the victim. It's just more of the same. What I find really upsetting about whether it's Benghazi, whether it's the foreign policy, any of these issues, is the fact that the mainstream media is still behaving like trained seals at the circus. Applauding everything the administration does. When we go back 10 years from now, look at the history of this period, it's not going to be that politicians lied, cheated, and stealed. Nothing new there. It's the fact that the American media, for the first time in American history, did not perform its function. It did not speak truth to power. It did not investigate. It did not look into things. It did not act on the part of the people of the United States. That it went along, it became a lapdog of government instead of a watchdog of liberty.
Well, and given that, just to follow up on John Kerry's remarks, at this point, is there any reason why the government in Israel should have any faith in the Obama administration as an honest broker here?
The problem with Israel is that without an alliance with the United States, it looks at things like Iran nuclear weapons and it says, okay, that's an existential threat to Israel's existence. But the relationship with the United States, I mean, that's suicide if they try to break with that. So I think their best policy at this point is just to wait it out. Do what they think is right for them and just wait it out in hopes that the next American president will understand the problems in the Middle East and will address them.
All right, but when you talk about foreign policy, we talk about the disaster here with these comments regarding Israel. We talk about lost opportunities in places like Syria. We talk about how the United States is being kicked around like a weakling in the schoolyard by Vladimir Putin. Can you point to one single thing where this administration can claim a foreign policy success? And if so, what does that say about our current Secretary of State and our past Secretary of State?
I don't see anything. We have
either.
better relations with nobody in the world except maybe Iran.
Well, that's something to hang your hat on.
There you go.
The Ayatollahs like us better.
But here's the thing: they're getting away with it because the American people have had it. We're sick of foreign policy, right? And who blames us? For 15 years, we've had failed American foreign policies. We've lost 2 wars. We're now in the position where we are like the kid in the playground who's getting his lunch money stolen by everybody, from Russia to China to Iran to Afghanistan to North Korea. And so Americans have said, every time I go out of my door, I get mugged. Maybe it's better to just stay home and lock the door and pay attention to the issues within our own country. And so I think that's where the American mood is. Now, I think America wakes up in a couple of years and says, wait a minute, we've now seen a nuclear Middle East, we've seen an ascent in Russia, we've seen a China pushing us around. Didn't we used to be one of the great powers in the world, if not the greatest power in the world?
And what I don't understand about this, KT, is that the Democrats seem on a course to nominate the one person responsible for these failures. Well, I mean, I want to pick up somebody who's going to be president who's actually might have a record of success.
I agree. But so,
Well, I'm glad we're in sync on
that.
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. The United States is going to wake up in a couple of years' time and say, what happened to it? Where did it all go? I mean, we spent the inheritance and we're broke. Where did our position in the world go? Now, the good news of all this is I think, although we're headed for a lousy couple of years, 5-8 years from now, it's going to be boom times again, because the inevitable development of American energy, our current political leadership aside, it's not going to be able to stand in the way of the inevitable push to develop our oil and natural gas resources and to then start exporting them. Our economy is going to boom, not just with the energy jobs, but the repatriation of manufacturing jobs, which come back to the United States. And at that point, we are going to be the world's energy superpower. So we are going to be in a position that we have not enjoyed for, I don't know, since the early days of
And this current administration did nothing to help any of that.
No, they're standing in the way of it. That's why they've got to get out of the way.
All right, KT, we got to leave it right there. KT McFarland, always a pleasure. Thank you.